Hi everybody, Wes Olszewski here aboard Lay Below on a Boat Nerd Nirvana trip. And in just a few minutes I'm going to show you some segments from my cruise aboard this vessel, thanks to the great people at Gohagen Travel. So, and behind me, if you take a close look, you'll see that there is a pleasure boat back there that went aground during a storm night before last. And they're just getting her pumped out, and the Coast Guard's going to pull her off the reef. So, I guess wherever I go, maybe there's a shipwreck. Anyhow, let's take a look at some segments of the video that I shot on this trip. Our cruise began after a 2-night stay in Toronto. Heading out across Lake Ontario, we were greeted by an amazing sunset across a blissful lake in summer-like weather. Our first boat nerd adventure was the Welland Canal. There are 8 locks in the Welland, and in order to keep our schedule, we passed through all of them at night. These devices built into the lock walls are called moor masters. They are completely automatic and work as suction cups that reach out and take hold of the vessel's hull. Mechanically, they keep the vessel stable and correctly positioned as the waters in the lock churn. These replace manual line handlers on the lock walls. I'm going to do a full video just on moor masters later on. The following morning, we tied up at Port Colborne, Ontario, and were bussed to our first excursion, Niagara Falls. Aside from oogling the hypnotic blue water going over the scarp, there was plenty to see and do. There is the Hornblower Cruise that takes the rain-coated passengers as close to the base of the falls as they dare. There is also the Niagara Parks Power Station and its tunnel, which also takes you down deep and out onto the river. The following dawn found us on western Lake Erie, and in our wake we saw this on the morning horizon. It looks like a ghost ship, a classic Laker, a self-unloader. I needed to zoom in, and then we saw it. It was a lake boat coming back from the dead. In fact, it's the Cuyahoga, returning to service. On May 23rd, 2023, the 1943 vintage self-unloader experienced an engine room fire right here on Lake Erie. Although her fire suppression equipment put out the fire, she had to be towed into port. Many on social media were quick to throw shovels of dirt on her grave by claiming ignorantly that she was finished and would be scrapped. Now, to the delight of some of us, the Cuyahoga is proving all of them wrong. Welcome back, old girl. Finally, we reach the mouth of the Detroit River, and out of the Livingston Channel comes our first opposing lake boat. It is the CSL Laurentian. This vessel was constructed in Collingwood, Ontario in 1977 as a self-unloader Louis R. Desmarais. In 2001, her forebody was scrapped, and she was given a new forebody at Port Weller Dry Docks. She retained her after cabins and stern, and was renamed CSL Laurentian. Next, we enter the business end of the Detroit River. I know that many of you have never had the chance to cruise up this way, so I videoed a boat nerds style tour. For example, this is the U.S. Steel facility.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear passenger, good morning. May I have your attention, please? I would like to remind you that we invite you at 10 in the theater deck 3 for the lecture Three Tales of the Great Lakes region presented by John Meffert. After the lecture at 11, Robin invites you for an important briefing about your excursion in Detroit for today and tomorrow. I kindly remind you that you can find all the activities for this morning in your daily program. I thank you for your attention and I wish you a very nice morning on board.
Some of you may recognize the place we're now passing as one of the busiest inlets on the Great Lakes. It is the River Rouge. This is the gateway to the Ford Motor Company's Rouge steel plant. You can see just a few of the half-dozen bridges that lakeboats need to pass through to get in and out of that waterway. By the way, I was not the only speaker on this cruise. There was Dr. Bill Blair, who spoke about the James Webb Space Telescope. It was fascinating. Also aboard was the Master of Historic Storytelling, John Meffert. And now we're passing what was the final scheduled destination of the Edmund Fitzgerald, Zug Island. I know Gordon Lightfoot sang that she was bound for Cleveland. That's because of two reasons. First, the Fitz's destination was not widely publicized when the song was written, so most just assumed it was Cleveland. Secondly, Zug Island doesn't sing very well. And as we clear Zug Island, we're just about to dock at our destination for the next 2 days. Detroit. And I have just enough time to stop shooting video and duck into the theater for Mr. Meffert's lecture. You heard him announce that on the PA. Of course, while we're docked at the foot of the Rensen for the next 2 days, the passengers will do several amazing excursions in the area. At every stop, Gohagan Travel had employed some outstanding guides for the passengers. So at Detroit, I decided to just stay aboard the vessel. Primarily because my room's balcony looked directly over the Detroit River. And like a good boat nerd, rather than going on shore excursions, I had other ideas. You'll see some of that video in part 2.